Chapter 18, Part 3, Daoism Formalized, Rules of Conduct, Modern Branches, and Daoist Gods. Written and produced by Thomas Tyseal. Copyright Thomas Tyseal, unless otherwise noted. Recall from the last section that when the rulers of the Western Jin moved southeast and established the Eastern Jin Dynasty, the northern lands divided into small, short-lived, warring kingdoms. One of these kingdoms managed some success and founded the Northern Wei Dynasty, as you can see in this map. A Taoist scholar in Northern Wei named Ko Qianzi, who lived from 365 to 448 of the Common Era, established a celestial master school in Northern Wei that focused on ceremonies and liturgies. To purify Taoism from various perversions, he also constructed the first list of do's and don'ts for Taoists, listing alcohols, drugs, promiscuous sex, and meat-eating as among the things Taoists should avoid. His efforts won the praise of the Northern Wei Emperor, who in 420 of the Common Era made Ko's celestial master's branch of Taoism the state religion in Wei. In the same year, the Eastern Jin Dynasty in the south collapsed and degenerated into what is called the period of the Six Dynasties. Following the collapse of the Eastern Jin, the first of the Six Dynasties in the south was the Liu-Song, founded by Liu-Yu. It was during this dynasty when an important person in Taoist history was born. In 406 CE, Hsiu-ching was born in Xiujing, near the eastern coast in the Liu-Song Dynasty. Liu traveled widely as a Taoist hermit and in 471 founded a southern branch of Celestial Master Taoism. He also codified the Lingbao text, about 50 volumes, and standardized its rituals. Liu sorted all available Taoist texts from the various schools, including the Celestial Masters, the Taiping Jing, the Xiujing, and the Lingbao, into 7 groups, 3 major and 4 minor, thus creating the first all-inclusive collection of Taoist scriptures, the Daozang, which was published by the order of the Emperor. In getting this done, some consider that Liu served as the true founder of what became Taoism. Liu's sorting of scripture and thus practice into 3 major groups was apparently based on a combination of the 3-basket model of Buddhist Tripitaka and the 3-vehicle model of Buddhist schools, Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Liu's 3-group structure of Taoist scripture and practice is known as the Catalogue of the Scriptures of the 3 Caverns or 3 caves or grottos. They are the Cavern of the Mysteries, which came from the Sacred Jewels tradition, the Cavern of the Spirit, which came from the Highest Clarity tradition, and the Cavern or Cave of Reality, which tradition associates with the 3 sovereigns. In ancient times, these 3 sovereigns would have been Fuxi, Nuwa, and Shennong, or the Yellow Emperor, but to Liu Hsiu-ching, they were Yuanxi Tiansun, Lingbao Tiansun, and Daoda Tiansun, or their 3 earthly counterparts, the heavenly sovereign Tianhuang, the earthly sovereign Dihuang, and the human sovereign Renhuang. The 3rd cavern contained many scriptures relating to the construction of talismans for healing and protection, protecting the fortunes of political endeavors, and descriptions on how to rule. The 4 minor caverns or supplements included the Great Mystery, Taichuan, philosophical and meditation material, mostly from the Tao Te Ching. The Taiping, which is focused mostly on the Taiping Jing and scripture and charms related to universal peace. The Tai Ching, which focuses on external alchemy, Wei Dan, and the Orthodox unity, or Zhengyi text. The Three Caverns 4-supplement scripture is still utilized, with the last revision, called the Jingtong Daozang, being made in the Ming Dynasty. In 581 of the Common Era, in the last of the Northern Dynasty, Yang Jian became Emperor Wen of Sui. 8 years later, he united his kingdom with the last of the 6 southern dynasties, and thus the northern and southern kingdoms were again united. The Sui dynasty, however, was short-lived, lasting only till 618 of the Common Era, less than 40 years. It was followed by the Tang Dynasty, which started in 618 and lasted almost 300 years, during which Taoism made major advances. Due to the scriptural codification of Liu-Song, Taoism was able to gain official status and reached its height during the Tang Dynasty. Indeed, the Tang imperial family, the Li clan, claimed descent from Lao-tzu, and they recognized the branch founded by Zhang Daoling, the celestial masters, tianshi, as the official branch of Taoism. Recall that Zhang Daoling was the one who preached against the Han Dynasty back in the 2nd century of the Common Era, saying that the demons of the underworld were to be released upon it due to its corruption, and that only 240,000 people, the seed people, would be spared to repopulate China in an era of peace. Zhang Daoling was also said to have physically ascended to heaven when he died. The celestial master's headquarters were on Mount Longgu. The other branches of Taoism also flourished during the Tang Dynasty, as did Buddhism, which, until the great anti-Buddhist persecution of Emperor Wuzong from 841 to 845, was the most widespread organized religion among the people, with many divisions including the Huayan, the Tiantai, the Chan, the Vinaya, and Pure Land schools. At the village level, you could also still find assorted local gods, earth deities, and river and mountain spirits. And in the cities or isolated villages, you could even find Manichaeans and Zoroastrians, Hebrews, Christians, and Muslims. China was then quite religiously diverse. We come now to the ethical teachings of Taoism, the 10 Precepts, which were apparently compiled during the Tang Dynasty, which started in 618 and went to 907 of the Common Era. The 10 Precepts first show up in the scripture on setting the will on wisdom, and then later in summary form in the scripture of the 10 Precepts. Neither of these texts are available online, so the list here is a standard short version. 1. Do not kill. Always be mindful of all living beings. 2. Do not be lascivious. Do not entertain depraved sexual thoughts. 3. Do not steal or accept unrighteous wealth. 4. Do not cheat, deceive, or misrepresent good and evil. 5. Do not get intoxicated. Avoid alcohol and drugs. Maintain purity and clear-mindedness. 6. Maintain harmony with ancestors and family. Do not disregard kin. 7. When you see someone perform a good deed, support them with joy and delight. 8. When you see someone unfortunate or suffering, support them to help restore good fortune. 9. If someone harms you, do not harbor thoughts of revenge. And 10. As long as all beings have not attained the Tao, do not presume you have attained it yourself. Be humble. Don't assume spiritual attainment until all are ready. The inner alchemy Neidan engraving shown here, called the Diagram of Internal Pathways, is from a famous Quanzhen temple in Beijing, the White Cloud Temple. Quanzhen is now one of the two dominant forms of Daoism in China. The other is the Zhengyi Dao, literally the way of Orthodox unity, which, recall, traces its lineage back to the way of the 5 pecks of rice and the way of celestial masters. Quanzhen literally means all true, and so the religion is often called the all-truth religion or the way of completeness and truth. It's also known as the way of complete or perfect realization or perfection. Quanzhen was founded by a 12th century Confucian scholar, Wong-juh, who is said to have had encounters with 2 of the 8 Daoist immortals. Wang adopted the name Wang Chongyang and founded a school of Daoism which merged the 3 great traditions of Buddhism, Confucianism, and traditional Daoism. It focused on cultivating both body and mind, and students studied Confucius's classic of filial piety, Buddhism's Heart Sutra, and Taoist texts such as the Tao Te Ching, as well as the anonymous work from the Tang Dynasty period, Cultivating Stillness, the Xiujing. In this complete reality school, as in Buddhism, the beginning of spiritual development is the elimination of desire. This is achieved by focusing on experiencing the Tao and in practicing Confucian ethics, including charitable deeds. The most famous practitioners of the complete reality school are called the 7 Masters, as shown here. Eventually, Wang's school broke into a southern branch headed by Po-tuan, which became the Purple Yang sect, and a northern branch headed by Master Ch'ang-ch'un, which became the Dragon Gate sect. The southern branch taught that the body must first be purified, while the northern branch focused first on the mind. Genghis Khan invited Ch'ang-ch'un of the northern branch to teach him about immortality, gave him the title Spirit Immortal, and put him in charge of all religious persons in the empire. Here are contrasts between the 2 modern Tao schools. Quanzhen was a stronger monastic tradition, with monks taking formal vows, living as celibates in monasteries, with ordination requiring a long residency and passing formal exams. Monks may perform small-scale rituals, and there's a strong centralized administration. The emphasis is on individual meditation, moral discipline, internal alchemy, and the study of specific Confucius, Tao, and Buddhist scriptures. In Zhengyi, non-monastic clergy typically marry and live at home and may operate independently. Priests receive license, that is, registers, to perform certain rites and are considered intermediaries with the divine. The emphasis is on ritual services of healing, merit, or exorcism. The Jiao ritual, to renew a community's mandate with heaven, may involve all members of a community over the course of several days. Practice may involve talismans, registers, and worship of the cosmic bureaucracy. We'll look now at a few Taoist gods. As with Hindu thought, These are not gods in the Western sense, but heroes or personified spiritual qualities and roles necessary to maintain a spiritual kingdom. There are hundreds of Taoist gods, but all express, facilitate, or interfere with attaining union with a single reality, the Tao. The Taoist gods represent an amazing fusion of ancient and newer Chinese thought into a more or less unified conceptual scheme based on what a heavenly kingdom must look like. As you've seen, the highest of the three pure ones, Yuanxi Tianzan, did not appear before the Lingbao text, specifically the Lingbao Wufuzhu and the Durenjing in the 5th century of the Common Era. The differentiation of the primal qi into the three pure ones, or three celestial worthies, began in the late 6th and early 7th centuries during the Sui and Tang dynasties. Once again, these are the celestial worthy of the primordial beginning, Yuanxi Tianzan, the embodiment of primordial Tao, who lives in the formless eternal jade realm. The celestial worthy of the numinous treasure, Lingbao Tianzan, in whom the primordial formless qi of Yuanxi Tianzan takes spiritual scriptural form and establishes time, cosmic order, and spiritual law, including the sanctioning of registers for priests to use. He lives in the upper purity realm, also called the heaven of highest clarity, which is the home of very high cosmic deities. And the celestial worthy of virtue, for whom the Tao enters the dimension of time to teach the sages like Lao-tzu. He lives in the grand purity realm, also called the heaven of great clarity, Tai-ching. This is where the most accomplished immortals reside. The title Jade Emperor did not appear until the Tang Dynasty, where it was an honorific title for a high celestial sovereign. He did not appear as a specific deity with a biography until the Song Dynasty, starting in the 10th century, and was only in the 16th century when he was popularized as the bureaucratic head of heaven by the book Journey to the West. The Jade Emperor is now recognized in Taoism as the supreme administrator of heaven and earth and the bureaucratic ruler of the 32 heavens, carrying out the will of the three pure ones through his 4 ministers. The 4 heavenly ministers are the highest ranking officials below the Jade Emperor. They carry out the cosmic governance delegated by the three pure ones through the Jade Emperor. The list has gone through some changes over the years. The one here is the one used since the Song Dynasty. The great Emperor of the North Pole Star of purple subtlety assists the Jade Emperor in ordering the heavens, ruling the seasons and climates, and controlling the Taoist writings. The great Emperor of the South Pole controls thunder, birth, and life on earth. The great Emperor of the highest palace orders the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and humanity, and oversees warfare and the change in dynasties. The Empress of the Earth, Ho-tu, a goddess who rules the earth, and the gods of mountains, rivers, and cities. In some versions, the Jade Emperor is a 5th heavenly minister associated with the center direction and is an assistant of Yuanxi Tianzan, or he replaces the great Emperor of the South Pole, and the South Pole, as well as the North Pole, is governed by the great Emperor of the highest palace. The 4 heavenly ministers parallel the 4 heavenly kings in the Buddhist pantheon. From the Song period onward, the bureaucratic cosmology enforced by the four heavenly ministers were sometimes fused with the five heavenly deities or emperors. But in theory, the five heavenly deities were inspired by the five elements of change, the five compass points, including the center point, the five senses, the five primary colors known by early Chinese, and the five planets known at that time. The five heavenly deities guard the five directions and rule the five elements. These five heavenly deities are generally the yellow deity, who rules the middle center of things, the four seasons, the element earth, and the planet Saturn, and is symbolized by the rain dragon. The green deity, who rules the east, spring, the element wood, the planet Jupiter, and is symbolized by the azure dragon. The red deity, who rules the south, summer, the element fire, the planet Mars, and is symbolized by the vermilion bird. The white deity, who rules the west, autumn, the element metal, the planet Venus, and is symbolized by the white tiger. And the black deity, who rules the north, winter, the element water, the planet Mercury, and is symbolized by the black tortoise. At the more local level, we get the 6 household deities. These are one for the land around the house and its fertility for harvest, one for plentiful clean water, one for protecting the property from evil spirits, usually placed on the door, one for the kitchen, who is my favorite and is seen at right. He reports family affairs to the Jade Emperor before the Chinese New Year. One for the bed, marriage relations, and children, and one for the toilet. Then we get the 8 Immortals. These are fighters for justice who live on 5 islands in the Bohai Sea, east of Beijing. Their stories were first recorded by Wu Yantai, a Ming Dynasty poet. The 8 are all very different from each other in background and vocation, representing diversity in Chinese culture. 3 of the 8, the first 3 that I'll show below, are historical characters around which legends grew. Most are said to have lived during the Tang and Song dynasties. The most famous depiction shows them crossing the Bohai Sea en route to a dinner with Ji Wang-mu, who lives in a garden in the Kunlun Mountains at the boundary between heaven and earth, and who grows peaches of immortality that ripen only once every 3,000 years. Each immortal is said to have a special power. The 8 are listed here, but I'll spare you my poor attempt to pronounce their names correctly. One is a jovial ex-general. Then there is a sagely old man, a Taoist priest, an ex-courtier, a crippled beggar, a Chinese scholar, a beautiful woman, and a young boy. As you've seen, as Taoism became clarified, it fused together diverse cultural elements and also followed a common practice of personifying what is in essence spiritual qualities, especially the 3 qualities of qi that emanate from the Tao. The heavenly Tian creative principle, also associated with Yuanxi Tiansun, the earthly Di generative nourishing qi associated with Lengbao Tiansun, and the human Ren qi associated with Dao De Tiansun. Whether this personification was a good thing or not theologically is a moot point, as it already is, but the personification does make sense from a cultural perspective. The 3 spirits take the form of emperors and thus reflects China's ancient and prolonged imperial structure and the Chinese love of order and obedience. In addition, the grouping of deities reflects China's fascination with numbers and what they represent, and also their love of nature and its qualities, all tied together in a homegrown religion. In this last section, I'll review a bit of how Chinese view the elements of change working and how these changes affect everything.